All right, welcome in. You're watching 4th and 5, presented by Ortho Arkansas. Man, once again, a big shout out to Ortho for making all of this happen. You know, Josh, sometimes the thing about Ortho and why I love them, because when I was in high school, I had some back issues. Doctors legit put me in a brace and said, DJ, we don't think you're going to be able to play football anymore. Then I said, okay, let me go somewhere else. I ended up at Ortho Arkansas. And they really took care of me, got me back on my feet, and I appreciate it. The thing is now, too, Josh, I'm older. As much as we talk about athletes in their prime right now, they take care of post-athletes as well. So if you're dealing with a knee, a neck, a back, that's literally me every single day. Just make sure you pay attention to the segment we got coming up a little bit later. Kirk Reynolds, he's amazing. There's a reason why we decided to partner with Orthos, because I don't like to partner with sponsorships just because they're throwing money at us. I have personal experiences with them, and I believe in their product. All right, so that's that. So once again, thank you, Ortho, for making all this happen. Really do appreciate you. That being said, we got a great show for you here today, technically whenever you want to watch this thing. So this is what we got on the lineup. We're going to recap some of that Auburn game with our hair-raising plays of the day. We'll get with that here in just a second. We're going to have Grant Cook on. The biggest thing that has popped up, Josh, offensive line, pass protection, struggle bus. And I tried to break down as much as I could Monday, and there's just some stuff on tape that I really didn't know how to explain. And I talked with Grant, and Grant knows his stuff. All right, so if you want to know exactly what's going on.
The perfect guy to bring in on that.
Yeah. So if you want to know exactly what's going on with the offensive line, stick around for that. You don't want to miss it. He's going to explain it all. Almost like he needs to be a coach or something. I don't know. Too, we got to get into our injury report. So Jalen Catalong is not on our team. Sorry about that. He's over there at UNLV. Jalen Braxton. I don't know. I had the J's all messed up. Jalen Braxton, we really need this guy back. Dynamic corner for us. He's dealing with some type of bone bruise. And Hudson Clark, I actually went back and watched the whole Oklahoma State game, Josh. I found the play that I believe he got hurt on. We got Kirk Reynolds talking about the injury report.
Okay.
And you remember that gruesome injury with the Auburn player that they didn't want to show on TV? We're going to talk about that as well, and if we do believe he's going to play football again. And then we're going to wrap it up with our thoughts against Texas A&M, the last game of Arkansas and Texas A&M at Jerry World. We're going to let you know exactly what we think about that moving forward. A lot lined up for you here, and as always, we appreciate the love. Y'all, seriously, coming up on 5,000 subscribers.
Man, happened so fast. It's happened so fast.
Yes.
It's been blowing my mind because, guys, y'all don't know this. DJ and I talk about this all the time, but y'all are the reason why we're more motivated to do this than ever. I mean, we wanted to do this. We started doing this, but the more interactions, the more comments, the subscribers, that honestly motivates us to stay up at night, to make these breakdowns, to edit the videos, to put them up online. And so thank you for your support, because it's truly motivating, and we just want to give back in a way. Now that we can't play and I can't practice, we want to find a way to give back. So thank you. Thank you.
I tell you, it's still weird to me because Coach Kelly, one of the winningest coaches of all time in high school football at PA.
He tried to recruit me, by the way. Tried to steal me in high school now. Coach Kelly.
Coach Bolden over there at Parkview, who was at North Little Rock before. When I'm out and I'm hearing these coaches say, hey, y'all need to watch DJ's podcast. You need to watch Josh's podcast. Y'all need to watch 4th and 5. I'm over here like, I think we got something going on. So let's keep it going. So, like I said, let's revisit last week against Auburn. There was some crazy play. All right, so we got a big-time show for you lined up. Excited about that. But let's go and revisit last week. We're going to have our plays of the week. But before we get into it, Josh, can we explain what MD Hair Labs is for a second?
Well, that's a great question. A lot of guys ask me that. MD Hair Labs is located in Northwest Arkansas. If you've been to Northwest Arkansas, you've been over by Topgolf, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been to Topgolf. I'm pretty sure you opened the place up yourself. It's located right over there. They do men's hair restoration. I showed you some photos. I sent you some photos last week. Did you see some of those guys?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And the thing about this, I think why we are partnering with MD Hair Labs is because we're guys, we get older, the hairline gets a little tough, and as much as we say we don't care about that ish, we care about it, So, but they got options for men out there.
Right. And so we're just excited to have the physicians come on board with us. They support the show and they want to give back. So it's the hair-raising plays of the week brought to you by MD Hair Labs.
All right, coming in at number 3, Metcalf again. Somebody get this man a lottery ticket. He's got hands like a magnet out here. Look at the hands, securing the catch as he slides to the ground. This guy could play receiver the way he's playing defense against Auburn. Next up, coming in at number 2, I had to put it in there because Jaquindon Jackson just shows how bad he wants it. He's going to fight at the goal line, and guess what? This is the ultimate example of teamwork makes the dream work. You got your tight end, Ty Washington, shoving him in there, just saying, look, we got to get into this end zone or we got to put this team away. And here you have it, folks, coming in at the number 1 MD Hair Labs hair-raising play of the day. We got Taylon Green's bomb to Isaiah Satania. Again, when you think the play is over, Taylon Green finds a way of extending it on his feet, and boom goes the dynamite Taylon Green, launching missiles like it's Madden in the 9th grade. The DB is still trying to figure out what happened, and Isaiah Satania's already celebrating in the end zone. And that's what you got to have when you want to win games in the SEC. And there you have it, folks. That's your MD Hair Labs hair-raising plays of the week.
All right, Josh. Yeah, great plays of the week. And after all those, what a great one from Satania making a play right there. That was big time. Big time from Satania. Fayetteville right. Bulldog in the house. All right, so let's still stay on Auburn. The biggest talker, Josh, all week. What's going on with the offensive line? What's going on with the offensive line? Why can't they protect anybody? It seems like people are just running through. Well, okay, let's answer those questions for you right here. But I needed the help of our friends. So here we go once again, bringing in Grant Cook to let us know exactly what is happening up front. All right, we are back in it with Grant Cook by popular demand. Grant, the people want to hear from you. And not only the people, I do. So let's talk later. Let's get right into it. Our offensive line, the thing that has consistently been brought up is obvious passing downs, especially third down. We know the blitz is coming, and they still can't figure it out. Sam Pittman has already talked about it. Coach Petrino, all of them just talk about our pass protection. We're still struggling. And so even I was trying to break down film Monday, Grant, and there was times where I'm looking at the film, and I'm like, I really don't know what they're thinking or what they're trying here. And I said, I gotta get Grant in on this because this is what I'm thinking. Like, are they doing it the way they're doing it now because maybe they're not athletic enough or talented enough to do it another way? Or is it still so early where they don't really comprehend high levels of communication pre-snap to make sure they're all on the same page? I have no idea because, Grant, a lot of our viewers, just like myself, when we look at the tape, we're like, I know you see that guy right in front of you, right? Why are you struggling with that? So break it down for us, big dog.
Yeah, so, I think it's probably a little bit of everything, right? And we talked about 2 weeks ago, it was that this is the 2008 version of Coach Petrino's offense, right? So give everybody a little grace here as we're talking about it. And I'm an offensive line sympathist, I guess, here. So, but also you do have to think about it is kind of that first iteration. We were not as powerful of an offense in 2008 as we were a little bit better in 09, 2010, 2011, and so on. And so they're still having to think a little bit up there. That's what it looks like to me. So when I'm watching the film, when I watch the games, you can see that some of these blitzes, some of these stunts are not the easiest to pick up, even when you know the offense like the back of your hand, but much less when you don't know it like the back of your hand and you're still having to sort all these things out. But I do want to talk about, a little bit of the technique. We'll walk through some of that today that may be able to, call it a cheat code, if you will, to allow yourself a little bit of extra time to sort some of these things out. And, we talked about it when we looked at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State walked a lot of linebackers up, outside linebackers up, put a lot of people on the line of scrimmage. We know that some of those are going to have to drop into coverage just based off of what they're trying to do defensively. And then some of them are going to come. But it's up to the offensive line and the quarterback and the running backs to communicate and know who's coming, who's not coming, and what protection they need to be in to keep, Taylon safe. So we put it on tape against Oklahoma State. And now all the defensive coordinators around the country are getting the film. They're breaking it all down the week that they play us, and they say, hey, this worked. So why don't we do it? And so that's what you see a lot against Auburn is in the clip that we're going to pull up, I think it's the 3rd and long clip, and same look as it was against Oklahoma State, right? All the linebackers walked up. You got a several down linemen. And I really want you to watch the right side of the offensive line, okay? 72, 54, and 63. So you've got 3 guys standing up on the right side of the offensive line, right? Presumably all linebackers, maybe a defensive back. So we have a tight end over there who, based on the play call, was going out on a route.
Yep.
And then you've got 2 offensive linemen, potentially the center. So as we run it, it looks like Blackstock is trying to take the most dangerous man, or the widest man, rather, thinking, hey, we have a slide protection coming this way, right? So there's 3 people out there. If all 3 of them come, we're in bad shape.
Yeah.
Braun's trying to get out to the second widest, and we would call that like a fan call, right? So you're going to fan out to the widest man. Blackstock takes a kick step, but it's very, very horizontal, right? He almost picks that back foot up and sets it straight back down in the place that it originally was.
And then talked about this last week, right?
Other foot back behind it.
Oh, no.
Just trying to bail out and get a hand on this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we roll it back to before the snap, we'll highlight Blackstock. If he takes a more vertical pass set, now a vertical pass set's going to inevitably make that line more direct to the quarterback. But in this case, it's what you have to do to be able to get depth, because the line straight to the quarterback is constantly going upfield, right? And you're talking about a defensive back that, undoubtedly is faster than the big boys up front, right? You have to figure out what that angle is, which in this case is more vertical versus horizontal, to cut him off on his way to the quarterback. That'll allow him to sort out number 24 here, who's kind of, jamming Luke out of the slot position there, or the up back position. Very well designed blitz by Auburn. I got to tip my hat to DJ Durkin on this one. The most inside stand up guy there comes in, takes Josh Braun's shoulder out. I mean, they execute it well. And once again, Talon is just a major athlete and breaks the pocket and ends up scurrying for significant yards. The one thing that pre-snap that I would say could cause more confusion is if we look at number 63, we'll run it all the way back to the front. We'll highlight number 63 here. He has a shade on his outside shoulder, the shoulder that they're sliding to.
Mm-hmm.
If I walk up there and I'm number 72, I immediately think, okay, we're sliding this way, but there's already someone in the center's gap. That's his man, right?
Yeah.
So I've got to take the next most dangerous man. But that nose guard or that shade crosses the center's face because the blitz is coming, and Addison does a really good job of staying in his gap. I think really what you'd want to see is just a better kick slide by Blackstock here that's not as horizontal, a little bit more vertical, and cuts that line of pursuit off from the defensive back coming in for the blitz. Yeah, and I mean, Talon's, as he gets more comfortable in the offense as well, I think he may have some opportunities to check just the protections and some of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that first play that we just walked through, the back stayed in. You would love to see him get to like a rip protection where it's a full slide of the offensive line, and then the back takes up anybody on the back side of that, right? I mean, just some of those things, and it's not just the offensive line that's in the first year of the offense, right? It's the quarterbacks, it's the wide receivers, it's the running backs. I think there's a clip in here potentially of a wheel route that probably would have scored that. Yet again, we see Jaquin Jackson cut block or stay in protection when he had a route. He had a responsibility as a ball catcher, and all those things. It's just year over year, game after game, all that repetition. You just learn it, right? You get to a point where you don't have to think. You just know.
Yeah.
But we're just not there yet, and I don't think the expectation is to be there quite yet. But we do have to show signs of improvement.
So just before we move on, slide protection is going to involve center, guard, and tackle to a specific side, and then your backside guard and tackle are kind of on their own working two-man game or whatever. And a rip and Liz protection, everyone is involved in like a super slide protection, and you put the back. That's crazy.
It's like a dance, right?
I heard that for over 8 years of playing football, and I just now know what it meant. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
That's y'all's world. That's the O-line world. I knew it meant something about protection, but okay. I feel stupid. I learned a little something today. All right. Let's give me some more, Grant. Give me some more. What else you got?
I got you, man. I got you. So jumping forward here again, right? Another 3rd and long scenario. So a lot of these are obvious passing downs as we're talking about our protections. So the number one rule of offensive line play is if something goes away, something's coming to you, right? So if your man loops way around, your eyes automatically have to go back to the opposite side. And so if we pull this up, another end zone shot here. I want you to watch number 72, Josh Braun. It looks like it's maybe kind of a partial line slide protection, and the backside tackle is still just staying man-to-man. So Josh takes a decent kick step here. I mean, for what he thought was going to happen. You look at it, he looks at that defensive tackle on 63 here. He stays front side, meaning front side of the center shoulder. His eyes have to immediately snap back to the outside. Now, number 12 for Auburn timed this one up pretty well. But once again, you would like to see him get a piece of him, and he does a little bit, kind of running it back and forth here. So you can, we'll watch the first half second of a lot of clips.
Yeah.
So his eyes go there, and then they try to come back. Really good job by the defender here to beat this. But I would almost say that Taylon's got to recognize where the blitz is coming from, because he's got another defender on the outside of the defensive formation coming free, right? So either he has to adjust for that and adjust the protection, which once again, we're in the freshman level classes of Bobby Petrino's offense, maybe sophomore, and we're asking him to do some graduate level stuff here. But either he has to realize this guy's coming free, I've got to get the ball out, right? Or he's got to change up the protection.
It's as much as we've talked about it. Are you not a little bit surprised? And as I asked you this question, I think I sent you 2 more clips to look at. We're going to skip ahead to the last one because I just want to stay with Pass Pro. Are you a little surprised that we're going into week 5 and we are still seeming to make the same mistakes?
I am, just for the sheer fact that I know what type of perfectionist Coach Petrino is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and a lot of this stuff, I mean, don't get me wrong. I can understand a little bit of it, but if we jump to the last clip, I'll just kind of to get to that point and help prove my point. You got 22 here that seems to be almost just head up on the center, right? We just call him a nose, like a true zero nose.
Yeah.
It's clearly a slide protection to the left. You can see Addison Nichols puts his hand up, trying to give that guard a little bit of help. And Josh Braun is looking at a linebacker that's pretty shallow for as far as a linebacker is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, if we're all this tight and they're running these blitzes, we should just wad all of this up.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if I know that I'm trying to assume this nose guard, let's just wad all of this up. And it looks like 24 really kind of fires and then gets back in protection. What he's trying to do there is get Josh Braun to commit
back
to
into
it,
coverage. Sorry,
so
coverage,
something else can come behind him, right?
Got you. Uh-huh.
He's trying to get the offensive line on different levels, and we talked about that a little bit after the second game when they're running twists and stunts. If offensive linemen get on different levels from one another, it's really, really hard to pass those things off. I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to stay on it and ride it out, and that's what I wanted to see here is everybody gets to get a hand on everybody, because it looks like he maybe did get us into Liz protection here, because if you watch Blackstock, he's coming down as well. The guy's crossing his face, and Jaquindon.
Hey, we'll let that slide.
Got the backside.
We'll let it slide.
So that's the rip and Liz protection I was talking about, right?
Yeah.
So when I talked about the back going to the back side of the slide, So this would be Liz. Everybody has their left-hand gap. You're responsible for that gap. So Blackstock does a great job here, assuming the guy that's there coming kind of across his face, trying to get into the B gap. But Josh, his eyes are head up to here. He needs to be looking in the gap that he's responsible for, which is exactly where 22 comes through. And then Jaquindon does, is like his best Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah,
like
let's get it.
He got him, man. But I'm not too sorry about that. We've seen all the bad calls that we've gotten at Auburn over the years, so they were too.
This was a part of our 12-play, 75-yard drive to milk 6 minutes off the clock that ended in a touchdown, and that was a 3rd and 4. I mean, just imagine, Grant, how that changes the game. I think the score is 17-14 at this point. And if you get sacked right there and you don't have a guy as elusive as Talon, you're going to be in a 4th and who knows what and out of field goal range. And so that's where like these calls come into place of, and I'm still surprised too, because like you said, if that's Liz protection, what's keeping Braun from going full speed there? And cutting that off, what could potentially keep him from doing that? If it's Liz protection, I know they're.
Yeah, I used to pray for ripping Liz. I used to pray for ripping Liz protection.
Yeah, make it easy for you.
You can't get it wrong.
Yeah,
if there's someone in your gap, block them. If there's not, keep your hand on this guy over here because you're going to help your boy out, right? You're helping the center or the guard or the tackle out on their block. I mean, you can't be wrong, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're thinking. And I think that's exactly what happened. I think he saw that guy kind of walked up a little bit, and the center goes and takes his gap to the left, and got his hand on 22, and
boom,
here he goes off to the races. I mean, Rip and Liz protection was like outside of what we used to call quick Rip and Liz was we cut everyone, and you were like, on your grade sheet was plus, right?
Yeah.
Assignment, technique, effort. If you
Can't
threw a cut block, you got a plus.
Yeah.
And outside of that, just regular Rip and Liz was the easiest protection out there. And then you start getting into other protections that are not so easy, right? Mostly man protections where it's mono and mono. But I still see these guys hesitant in thinking, and it's a little bit reminiscent of last year, right? Yeah. So once again, first-year coordinator, first year in the offense. You saw a lot of guys like Bo Limmer and Brady Latham, who the previous year were second, third, first team, all SEC, All-American, honorable mentions, or maybe they made some All-American teams. And over the summer, those guys just didn't get worse.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like physically they were just worse than they were the year before. Mm-hmm. They were out there thinking. And when you're thinking in this game, and you and I kind of talked about it a little bit in the first pod, you're done. Because you don't have the time to think and then react. You just have to know and go. And if you don't, then all of these guys that are out there that are super athletic are going to make you look pretty dumb.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we can get to a point where everyone understands this offense. We feel really confident with it. And it starts to click for all 11 guys on the field, right? I remember Paul Petrino used to talk about on offense, all 11 guys have to do their job in order for the play to be successful. On defense, 10 out of the 11 can fall down, and the defensive back tips the pass out of the receiver's hand, and it's a successful play, right? But that ain't how it rolls on our end. So I'm hopeful that we're taking these film sessions seriously. We're grading ourselves. Everybody's looking themselves in the mirror and saying, hey, look, I've got to get better. I've got to understand this, and putting the time in to do it. So that way later on, and was it Coach Broyles, they remember in November, right?
It's coming.
So we're not far away.
No,
we're not far away. And we've got a lot of tough games against some really, really, really good opponents coming up here in the next several weeks that we've got to play our A game or it could get ugly.
Well, Grant, I always appreciate the knowledge, getting a little bit more in depth, helping these people understand the answers to the question of what's going on up front. So, like I said, I really do appreciate you taking the time to go through these plays with us and breaking it down, man. Hopefully see you next week if you got time.
Yeah, man, I'm in. As much as the people want me, I'll join in.
They
So,
want you.
keep
They're
me
starting
looped
to
in.
give you nicknames and everything. I saw Grant Daddy. I was like, okay, we'll get that. We'll figure out. Here, viewers, how about this? You got a week to come up with a name for this segment with Grant. Something with whatever Grant's nickname is going to be for the segment. Could be Coach Cook, cooking it up. Ooh, cooking it up. Something. I don't know. It'll be fun. Grant,
Gotta
I
play on
appreciate you,
words.
man. I'll holler at you next week then.
Awesome, guys. Appreciate it, and look forward to next week.
All right, man. Man, I tell you, Grant knows his stuff, and hopefully they tighten that up. And it has to be quick because A&M up front, I would say probably that's the strength of their defense. They do a good job creating pressure. We'll talk more about A&M here in a second, but we're going to go ahead and get to our injury report. Like I said, we actually found the play, I believe, that Hudson Clark got hurt. So we're going to show that to you, and we're going to have Kirk Reynolds join us right now to explain exactly what's going on with the Hogs when it comes to
Dr. Kirk.
injury. Yeah, Dr. Kirk, injury report. Here we go. All right, we got Kirk Reynolds with us here with Ortho Arkansas, and we're going to get right to it.
Absolutely.
If you got a game, you need your players out there to play. So let's go ahead and start with our corner, Braxton, who we have not seen play since Oklahoma State. They're saying he has a bone bruise.
Yeah, the last report I saw was a bone bruise, and that's a kind of a nebulous topic, and obviously, the team medical staff is trying to protect privacy and things like that. But anytime you hear of a bone bruise and a cornerback and they're not on the field, it makes me think that it's probably a heel bruise. And if you think about when you walking around with a rock in your shoe and you get a stone bruise on your heel, it's pretty sore for a few days. And so if you're someone that's got to be able to backpedal, got to be able to plant and cut, then that's going to limit your ability to do that in a comfortable manner. We saw that he was potentially available last week for the Auburn game, didn't play. So it's got to make me think that he still wasn't 100%. And they didn't feel like we needed him, apparently. So hopefully this week with another week of rest, another week of healing, and some treatment, he'll be ready to go against A&M.
Okay, so Hudson Clark, we actually saw on tape what we believe was the play that got him hurt. Yeah,
sure. I mean, it was kind of right there towards the end of the third quarter. It was on the third down, and he kind of came back for a tackle, and you can see he kind of gets hit by the defender. First quarter, sorry. So he kind of gets hit by the defender who's fallen back into him and sort of twists and leans to his left. And I mean, he immediately goes to the ground, sort of comes up into, arches his back. You can tell he's tweaked his back a little sore just with the way his hips were positioned and the way he twisted his body. Hopefully it's just a muscle injury. They did say after the game that he was going to need an MRI. Which would make me more concerned that maybe he had a herniated disc or an injury to the disc, and maybe he has what we most commonly refer to as a pinched nerve. Hopefully that's something that they can do some treatment, maybe an injection, something like that, and get him back on the field.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it going. Thoughts against A&M? What you got?
You look at A&M and who they've played. They kind of struggled against Bowling Green. You look at their stats. They were heavy run against Bowling Green, and only had less than 200 yards through the air. So I think that bodes well for us, especially if we've got a couple of D-backs that are still dinged up. I think we've got a better chance of stopping the run with a full personnel. A&M seems to have had our number at Jerry World, but I'm looking for us to rebound. I'm looking for that streak to stay alive. I think it's going to be a close one. I'm going to say 24-21 Hogs.
All right, so real quick, people dealing with some injuries, Friday Night Lights, high school football, if they're dealing with something, how do they get a hold of you? Can you take care of them?
So for our football players, for any of our athletes, Saturday morning during football season from 9 a.m. to 11, just walk in, don't need an appointment. You'll be seen by one of our sports medicine specialists. If it's during the week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. in both Little Rock and North Little Rock, we have our walk-in urgent care, no appointment needed. And then on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to noon at our Midtown location, also have our urgent care. That's all year long. That's not just during football season.
All right, Doc, I appreciate you.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, here we go. Let's get to A&M. Josh, here we are at a point where a lot of Razorback fans are saying we could be going into this game, should be going into this game undefeated. Mm-hmm. And I agree. Can't turn back the hands of time. It is what it is. But still, after what I saw still at Oklahoma State, even with all the mistakes we've made on the offensive side of the ball, some defense, special teams, man, I said it then 3 weeks ago. I said I think we win these next 3 games, and I still feel like that. Now this is going to.
Did you say that?
I did say that. Yeah, and
You
I
did
feel
say
like
that? Okay, I believe you. I believe you.
I feel like after that Oklahoma State game, enough was on tape where I was like, I think we get for sure UAB, even though that was a little tough one. For sure, we get Auburn, and I said I feel like we get A&M. I really do. Now Tennessee, different ball game, but this game, oh man, if they pull this one out, Josh,
it's a whole different. It's a whole different season.
I think this exceeds most people's expectations. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I think that if you just go back to the summer, when we were going into this season, we didn't know what to expect. I mean, there were certain people who were on the Bobby Petrino, offensive bandwagon, but to go in here to be 3-1 right now, for our only loss to be to I don't know, what are they, top 10 yet? They're on their way last time I saw, but for that to be our only loss and to play the type of game that we played where we basically gave it away. There's a world where we are 4-0, and now your offense is led by Bobby Petrino going back to Texas A&M where he just was. And I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, or I remember him talking about his time at Texas A&M and mentioning that he couldn't even really run his offense while he was there with Jimbo Fisher. That was part of the issue. Yeah. He came in and was running some of Jimbo's stuff. So I think that if I know Bobby the way I think I know Bobby, I think there's a little bit of him that's going, I want to go back to Texas A&M and prove something. Plus, this is the last time we're going to be playing in Jerry's world. And you know what that means, right?
It's Jerry, not the S. But go ahead.
Oh, you know what I'm saying. You know what that means. Look, you just took away my punchline. I was about to put the hat on, big dog. I was about to take you.
Where you get that hat from? Who you steal that from? Why are you muted?
Why do I keep muting myself?
Yeah. You should have muted yourself. Yeah.
This is my hat. We're going on down to Jerry World, baby. Playing in Dallas, Texas. And you got to think, out of all the games that Arkansas's lost in the recent past, to be able to have Bobby Petrino ride back into town.
A lot of them.
Coming back to deliver the W for the Arkansas Razorbacks, baby. I'm excited about it. So excited I brought this hat to the show because I think a couple things. Here's a couple things that I know Bobby's looking at on this offense. Number one, he's got to figure out a way to throw more than 160, 150 yards, what we've been throwing in the past 2 games. We got to get back to the type of offense that we had against Oklahoma State. Now, it's going to take a couple things. I personally think it's going to take our boy Taylor Green staying in the pocket, not having that timer in his head that's causing him to run when the pocket isn't collapsing. And it's going to take us having playmakers stand up. I'm going to actually release a little bit of tape later on this week about Tyrone Broden and how I believe he is the missing piece to our offense. There's a lot of mismatch situations that guy can provide. And if we can figure out how to hit on all cylinders, connect with him in the situations that matter, especially in the red zone, I think that's going to give our offense the ability to really produce the numbers that we need to produce. And it's also going to take the pressure off of Taylor Green having to constantly run the ball. And we both know in the SEC, if you continue to have to run the ball, you will get hurt. It's a ticking time bomb for this guy to consistently take off on his feet. We need to turn him into a little bit more of a Ryan Mallett, a little bit more in the pocket, and rely on those feet when all else fails. But he's too often going to his feet, especially in the red zone. He did like 5 flips last game. So yeah. I think Bobby Petrino knows that. He's going to figure out how to get the rest of these weapons involved. And there's a big role for Tyrone Broden to fill in our offense, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, just to touch on a few things that you said about, Petrino wanting to go back, do well there, and kind of being a little bit behind the 8 ball and doing the things that he wants to do. I actually talked to Jimbo Fisher this week. And first of all, great dude. He had high praises about Bobby, but he told me that when Coach Petrino came in, we made him learn our language, and he had to relearn everything and try to explain it to these guys in a language that he's not used to. And when you have a guy who has perfected his offense and when he tries to explain things to people to get them to, for it to hit him and for it to stick. If he's thinking about, okay, what am I trying to say here? It's just not the best recipe for success. So, but all that's out the window now. He's very familiar with the personnel. Think about Coach Petrino. When he knows who he's playing against, it's trouble. And he knows that defensive personnel. He knows who's going to be slow getting out to the flat. He knows who's going to be slow getting off the ball, who struggles with down blocks, what linebacker is great at getting depth, which one's not, which one can cover. Right. He knows all that stuff. So he will exploit every single one of those weaknesses because he knows the personnel. He just has that type of football mind. Now, who we're going up against, let's talk about that. A&M, what they're going to offer. Defensively, the defensive line is their strength. They have guys that could get pressure. Here, let me throw up some clips right now. Here, Josh. This is something that a Petrino offense is going to know is coming. Well, let me pause. They should know is coming. As soon as this guy from Bowling Green went in motion, you can see that shift up front for the defensive line. And this guy right here, who seems to be like a corner or a nickel type linebacker, as soon as he gets on that edge of the line of scrimmage, that is the biggest indicator that all of the defensive linemen are going to slant away from him because he picks up the edge responsibility. That opens him up to all slant. This offensive lineman did get a call, and so that's why he got beat across his face. I just know playing in a Petrino offense, we have calls for that. And if our guys can see it and make those calls, they pick this up, and it's not a tackle for a loss. Now let's get to the offensive side of the ball. They got a quarterback very similar to a Taylor Green. He hasn't thrown for over 200 yards this year. Now, he's played the last two games. The first two games, their starter at Notre Dame got hurt. Apparently, he has an AC sprain. But he did play against McNeese State, but hasn't been seen since. His backup, Marcel Reed, a freshman, came in. And when it comes to passing attack, it's just not there. They haven't thrown for over 200 yards this season, Josh. Now, Marcel Reed, dude's an athlete, and he can run. They have a lot of design runs for this guy, but he is good enough at throwing the ball when it comes to the mid-range game. You're not going to see a lot of deep shots from him, but they're going to see if he – the thing about A&M, I will say this, they do a great job with the protection. They give him time to have routes develop. You can see this right here. He's able to sit in the pocket. These crossing routes take time, especially man-to-man coverage, to come open, and he's able to get the ball out. Now, if we can figure out a way to get pressure on this guy, I think a lot like Talon, he's going to struggle being accurate and getting the ball where it needs to be. Here's one example right here. It's a completion, but you can see the ball is out late, and this is against Bowling Green. I believe our DBs are much better, and they're going to close that gap, and I don't think that's completion against Arkansas secondary. We've shown that. And so it's going to be an interesting matchup. We still have a different element to account for because they got a good running back, a decent running back, pretty good up front with their blocks. But this quarterback's ability, if they decide to go with Marcel Reed, who I believe will start, he can run, Josh, and he's big-time athlete. Now, Wingman, their starter, he potentially could be healthy. Would they decide to go back to their main guy? I don't know. But this one guy that can run all over the place, he has 4 touchdowns on the year, passing, 0 turnovers. So he doesn't make bad decisions. And that's not bad for when you're in a situation like that, when you're going back and forth between two guys. So that's going to be the biggest matchup for A&M, kind of give you a brief little idea of what we're going up against. And I would say, Josh, in my opinion, that would be in our favor. Usually when we have to face teams that are predominantly run so far this year, it's been great. Although people are going to say, look what we did last week. We had 4 interceptions. Well, we happened to play, as Hugh Freeze would say, against quarterbacks who like to throw it to the other teams, So I would say 2 of those picks were bad throws. The other 2, Josh, they were some damn good football plays from our DBs. Yeah.
There was 2 very good football plays. A couple, when you get tipped balls in college football and you come up with a pick, it's kind of, I don't know, it's any man's ball once it gets tipped, right? So I don't really attribute a tipped pass to a defense necessarily, but it's good to be in the right place at the right time, and it's finally good to come out on the other side of that and it actually benefit us. But, I think you're right. I think the X factor to any college football game is a mobile quarterback, and I hate seeing them. And so this Marcel Reed at Texas A&M, he does scare me because we don't necessarily know what he's capable of. You don't know if you've already seen his upside or he's going to show his upside against us, but you do know he can run. And when you can run in college football the same as Taylor Green, you can cause a lot of problems. And so, our defense and our defensive line, especially, I said last week I was hoping that they were going to step up. I really, really want to see our defensive line step up and give a young quarterback, his welcome to the SEC. And I would love to see it happen in Jerry World. So I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I just think that we're due, baby. We are due a win down there, aren't we?
We are due. But as we know, in Arlington, anything can happen. So
that's right.
I'm pumped up for it. I'll be down there, and so make sure you follow 4th and 5 on all platforms because I'll have your post-game thoughts and reactions after that. Those always are fun. I know, depending especially what happens. But as we wrap up this edition of 4th and 5, this episode, once again, Josh and I just want to reach out again to say thank you. Already had I put up on Wednesday a post saying where we're going to have viewer comments, and if you really want your question to be pushed to the forefront, you can donate $20. Josh, I already had a donation come in, man, and the person, you know what they said?
That's awesome.
You know what they said? Love the show. That was it, and so really appreciate that. It does take a lot of work to get all this stuff up and running. Fortunately, we're passionate about it and we love it and we can talk about it all day, but any type of support, any form is always welcome. And the thing about it, I think that's going to allow us to be able to give you more of what you want, especially being able to bring on current players, former players, getting more content, making sure we can pump out stuff daily and not just twice a week. Appreciate it. But we're going to stick to what we do best. And I think, Josh, the recipe is bad, good, great, ugly. We're going to be fair and we're going to be honest. What we have learned in this business, when things don't start going right, how do I say this? I feel like there's this kind of cloud hovering a lot of people in the media world. I can't say too bad things because I got to talk to these guys. I got to see these things. And Josh, I think we just keep it real regardless. And I admit it's hard. I mean, the last home game I was at, I ran into somebody. I'm not going to say names. I know y'all want to know. And that's not like me. And that's just to tell you, it was someone that I don't want any grief towards. But a conversation was had with me that let me know that they watched this show and they don't like what was said. And almost like, I don't mess with you anymore, DJ. And I'm like, hey, I understand. I get it. But we're going to be fair and we're just going to call it like we see it. And the only reason I tell you that right now is because I want people to know who really tune into this and watch it. That's what we're going to that's what we are going to stick to. I don't even know I said tribe. So, and it's all thanks to the feedback that we've gotten. So continue to support us, and we're going to make sure we give you exactly what you want as Hog fans, the truth, and hopefully give you some insight into football. And I will say this too, Josh. I've been pumped up by all the people who feel like they're starting to learn a little bit when it comes to football and the terminology. Here in about 3 or 4 weeks, I think we're going to be able to have a viewer come on and do a breakdown for us. That'd be awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
They're gonna be at a tailgate at their game in the living room. They're gonna be like, oh, hold on. He's not getting the protection on the left side. His kick slide isn't working right. Look at it. Look at the way he's. This is gonna be all.
I think they're in a rip protection. No, they're gonna slide. Right. That'd be awesome, man. Let's get it. Let's get it 4th and 5. It'll be fun.
They sent him in motion to expose the man defense. Do you see that, Mom? Do you see that, Dad?
Let's get it, man. Hey,
I can't wait.
I say this. And the football is a science, man. And all you have to do is just learn it. And once you learn it, you can see it happen as it's developing. And I tell you, when you start watching the game like that, you see so much more. And it is so entertaining when you can watch it like that. I promise you. So y'all stay with us. Y'all been great. I can't say it enough. And don't forget, we got merchandise now. So we have links on our page, our YouTube page.
That's right.
If you want to know where to get your 4th and 5 swag, your merch. And I said this, Josh, the first person I run into at a Razorback game and they're wearing a 4th and 5 hat, I'm going to make sure I keep the $20 bill on me. I'm going to give the first person $20 if I see him wearing some 4th and 5 merch.
Well, I don't know how they're going to get a hat because you got all the hats. I can't even get one.
Oh, you haven't heard?
Oh, I heard. I heard from your sister.
Okay, you got a package coming in the mail.
I got a care
hear
package coming. Yeah,
you got
there we go.
A loadout is on the way. All right, so you'll be good to go. Josh, it's been fun, man. I guess I'll catch up with you Monday or Tuesday next week. I'll be down in Dallas, Arlington. So make sure y'all stay tuned to 4th and 5 for your post-game update. It's been fun. Josh, I appreciate you, man. You have a good night, all right?
Yep, you too, brother. Thanks for watching 4th and 5.